Hey everybody, just one reminder. Hope that you're as excited for Easter coming up as we are. Wanted to let you know that Good Friday at 6 p.m. we'll have Metro Kids, and then on Sunday, Easter Sunday, 7, 9, and 11 a.m. services, and the 9 and the 11 will have Metro Kids, our children's ministry as well. So I'm super stoked. Hope to see you all there. That's it. Enjoy the podcast. Cue the music. What's up, everybody? It's the Hana Hou podcast. The boys are back in town. The boys are
Boys are
back in
back
town.
in town.
Cameron, dude, I
What's
feel
up,
like I
Billy?
haven't. When's the last time you were on the podcast? A while
Was
ago,
I?
huh?
I think I was subbing in for you.
No, was it that long ago? A few
That was
weeks
only
already, then, huh?
that was only in February.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's been too long.
too long. Missed you.
Uh, Missed you
Miss
too,
being
man.
here. Miss being here.
Well, thanks for making time. As we gear up towards Easter, we've all got a lot going on.
Happy Holy
Uh,
Week, everyone.
Happy Holy Week, Cam. You said that you're going through a like a devotional for Holy Week. Tell us about that. How's that been going?
Yeah, so when we go enter in Holy Week, it usually starts with Palm Sunday, as we discussed this past weekend. And I felt like I wanted to prepare my heart well spiritually heading into Easter. So I found one of those devotional studies on the YouVersion Bible app and was just going through the Gospels accounts of Jesus's final week on earth. And so far, we've gotten to him overchanging the tables at the temple and kicking out the money changers and everything, and kind of progressing through the story as we head towards the crucifixion and the resurrection. So I just like doing those sorts of things. Sometimes I like to actually read through the gospel accounts of Jesus's death and resurrection, even before Easter, just to kind of
Hmm.
get me in that mindset. Even
So if you're listening to this and you're like a true Bible nerd, you can tell what day we're recording this based off what Cam just said. You're like, oh, okay, let's carry the 3 minus the 2. Uh, yeah.
well, I think that's what we're all supposed to. I mean, at least for me, I want to prepare my heart well, and that's what Lent is supposed to do, heading into Easter. That's what the Catholics kind of head into. Some of the other traditions, Christian traditions around the world will do sort of candle lighting ceremonies or whatnot heading up to Easter, special services. It is the Christian holiday, right? We don't have
Yeah. It's a
our
Christian
faith
Super
without,
Bowl.
yeah, if you want to go that route.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah, but even
Except
more than Christmas.
no, I think it's Paul, the apostle Paul, who writes like without the resurrection, none of this matters.
Hmm.
So like without Easter, none of this would matter, you know?
Yeah, definitely
So
right.
yeah, it's all about preparing our hearts and stuff. All right, Cam. That is such a perfect Christianese phrase,
Mm.
preparing our hearts. So if I'm listening to this, I'm like, okay, I just started coming to church for a while, or like checking out churches to maybe go for one or Easter. Um, what does that phrase "prepare your heart" even mean?
That's a really good question. I think something for us to ponder and consider on. In much of the same way, we need to, in a sense, get ourselves ready. I think of like how if you have guests coming over, you got to clean house, you got to make sure everything's put away. You got to make sure that the dishes are prepared, that you got your uh, entertainment set. I also think about when you're training for, say, a marathon or a athletic
And by
event,
the way, training for the marathon.
that you need to put in the preparation work in order to get ready for it. Otherwise, you'll show up to the event ill prepared or not ready for it. And I think because Easter is such a big deal for Christians, that we should spend the time, whether it's in God's word or prayer, to prepare ourselves, our hearts, in order to commemorate and celebrate Good Friday and Easter. Otherwise, much like any other things, right? The demands of the urgent or right now are just going to bombard you. You'll be busy, and Easter will come in by and fly by before you know it, and be nothing different for it. And I don't want to miss what God has and what He's gonna say through this time. So just encourage to everybody, if you haven't, just pick up a devotional Bible reading plan leading up to Easter, or just read through the Gospels about Jesus's last days. And if you put it in that context of these are the last things He said before He ascended to heaven, there are, I think, some real gems and truths that are in it. So just a little encouragement to all of us as we head into Easter.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get back on that horse because like it's tough. I feel like I haven't done like any reading at all in the past 8 weeks and 5 days.
Wow, you have it down to a number.
Yeah, man. But who's counting? Um, just because like anytime I have free time, it just snaps and it's gone. Thanos obliterates it.
Your free time has been snapped and you
Yeah.
are done.
But it's something that's important for us, and I'm trying to steal like little moments here and there to do that. And those little moments have been really good. But it all started off this past Sunday with Palm
Mhm.
Sunday
Yes, it did.
when Jesus rode in, not as a conqueror, not as a warrior, but as a humble servant.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
and it's like this. I've talked about this before. I'm not sure about if I've talked about this too much on the podcast, but there's this concept called the upside down kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
which is God's kingdom, with that Jesus refers to while He's here is upside down,
Mm-hmm.
basically. First shall be last, greatest are the servants, etc., etc. And so Jesus subverts everyone's expectations when we're expecting like greatness and strength and like a display of might. He comes in as a lowly servant, and
Mm-hmm.
as Pastor Brandon talked about, sometimes that can lead to really big disappointments in our lives because we often expect, okay, if God is going to do something, then it's going to be like this huge, grandiose part the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Dude, I remember like praying when I first became a Christian. I was reading my Bible and I was like reading verses that were like, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, and you can tell this mountain to get up and move.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right. So every night before I go to sleep, I'd pray, like, all right, God, I've got faith. Let me wake up and it's snowing. And every morning I wake up and it's like, what the heck, man? And like we try to, it kind of ties in with what Pastor Owen was talking about last week, where we try to get God on our side. But really, it's Palm Sunday reminds us to not come into it with this like firm idea of, okay, this is what God's going to do. This is my plan and God's going to stick to it. But rather just this idea that, okay, this is what's happening. I know what God has said. And so however that happens, I'm for it,
Yeah. But it's hard to not get our hopes up or get ourselves sort of in that point of disappointment. And when I was studying through this for my own self for Palm Sunday leading up, you see Jesus's procession into Jerusalem, and it's humble, it's lowly, it's subverting expectations in that sense. But I think what a lot of people don't realize and know is that there was another procession that was happening that day, and it was Pontius Pilate coming in to Jerusalem. And we know Pontius Pilate was the Roman overseer of that time. And I recently learned, history nerd, getting really excited about this, that at Passover every year, what the Roman Empire would do to remind the Jews that you are under our foot, you're under our heel, is they would send in a legion to Jerusalem to occupy the city during Passover. Because Passover is this festival that celebrates their exodus from Egypt,
from oppression. So
from
it's like
oppression.
hey, don't get too comfortable celebrating the time you were
Yeah,
freed because you're not.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, essentially, right? And that's the Romans' reminder to them, like, hey, you're still ours, that we're still the lords of this territory. So there's this procession going on of Pontius Pilate and his Roman legionnaires kind of marching in with the standards and everything.
Before
Yes.
you go too far, what's a legion?
What's a legion? I, I actually researched this.
Yeah, I know you did.
I was
So
actually talking.
it's like what, 1,000?
It consists of 1,000 to 1,500 Roman soldiers. That's about the size of a legion.
So not too shabby.
Not too shabby, but this is a very impressive force, show of force that's coming into Jerusalem. You can imagine the tension that's in the air, right? As the Roman soldiers march in, all full regalia with their golden standards of the eagle and whatnot. And then at the same time, we have Jesus coming in lowly on a donkey's colt.
By
And
himself.
well, I mean, sure, with his disciples or
Yeah, but
whatnot.
not like he's got a
Yeah,
thousand well-trained soldiers behind him, you know?
yeah, definitely. And then the people are crying, Hosanna, right? Save us. In the context of save us from these Roman oppressors. Like you see their troops, they've amassed 1,000 plus soldiers here. We're expecting you to come in as a conquering commander to help us oust these guys. Like, hey, wouldn't it be the greatest time to do this, Jesus? Like that was sort of the expectation. And when he doesn't do it, I think a lot of people are just thrown for a loop. I expect even his disciples thought that this is what he was going to do, because all his conversations leading up to this, their disciples are like, so when are you going to usher in the kingdom? When are you going to do what you said you're going to do? Like, this is the golden moment, a sense,
Yeah.
in a way. And when Jesus actually starts talking about, I'm going to die, they're like, what? They're super confused. And it's because of this misplaced expectation and even celebrating the wrong thing of what Jesus came and was meant to do, which led to just this excessive disappointment, which eventually leads to them saying, yeah, crucify him. Like, this guy is crazy. He's not worth it. Like, just, he said he was going to do all these things, but here he is on a cross.
Yeah.
Like, so it's this sort of juxtaposition of what Rome represented at the time, what Jesus was truly representing, coming to do, and the people's expectations as well.
Man, I did not know that
Mm,
about Pilate and his legionnaires.
yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, it reminds me of Spy Kids 3D.
I did not watch that.
All right, so it's the one where there's Sylvester Stallone. He's a toy maker, and he like invents this video game. This was like early 2000s, late 90s. So this was like they invented VR and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this like impossible to beat video game, and it's like crazy. And there's like high stakes that I can't remember.
Okay.
And there's supposed to be this guy, like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's supposed to come and like beat everything and save everyone.
Mm.
And so he shows up and he's got like this silver glowing suit of power armor. He's got like 99 lives on his chest and everything. It's Elijah Wood.
Okay.
And they're like, he's the guy. Step aside. And then like he walks up to the final boss and he just gets like one shot, and then like he lands on the ground and all his lives go down to zero, and then he disappears. And it's like this scene that takes like 3 minutes, and it's like from this is the guy to what? That's the guy? That was supposed to be the guy?
Oh man.
Kind of that same idea of like they put so much hope into like, man, this is the high noon showdown. Like Jesus is walking in, Neo versus Agent Smith. Like he's gonna do the whole. They're all gonna pile on him. It's gonna be sick. And then he just like, all right, I give up. You win. And everyone's like, what? Like we put all this hope in you for nothing?
Yeah.
And so it's just this because we have the ability to look back at that. We're on the other side of Easter. We can see, oh, these people were like, they just didn't know. Like they just didn't realize what God was doing. But in our own lives, in our own day-to-day lives, we are not on the other side of what God is doing
Mm,
currently, you know? And so we can get so caught up in the celebration of Palm Sunday, of the things are turning a corner. Uh, it looks like this, whatever is lined up and it's going to work out.
mm,
It looks like everything's going to be perfect. And we're like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. And then it doesn't. And then, just in the same way as the people back in Jerusalem were like, what the heck, man? Like,
mm,
you didn't deliver. We can
mm.
be like, we can get caught up in the, God, I thought it was going to be this, or I thought it was going to be that, and it wasn't, you know?
Yeah.
And so, what I love about Palm Sunday is it reminds me like that I am so quick to get my hopes up and
Mm,
so quick to put my hopes in everything else
mm,
instead of having this like loose grasp on my plans and saying like, you
mm,
know, God, this is what I would like. Yes, this is like, I'm going to pray for this. I'm going to believe and have hope that it's going to work out. But in the end, I've seen Easter.
mm,
Like I know how you operate. I know that the greatest is the servant, or that the first is last.
mm,
And so when I'm in those moments of like huge disappointment or stress or like just what the heck God moments,
mm,
it's this dichotomy, this tension of yes, this sucks.
mm,
This is terrible. I'm in Easter Saturday, you know,
mm.
the day between Good Friday and the resurrection and everything. But I know the promise of Easter is still around the
Mm.
corner. You know?
Yeah. I think there's that whole concept of hindsight's 2020 because we know what's going to happen in the story. We're okay with Palm Sunday, but if you actually had to live through Palm Sunday, and for many of us, we had those Palm Sunday moments where we're coming off this high victory only to be disappointed by what follows. Pastor Brandon gave a whole bunch of examples of it, whether it be like you come off your sports team's victory and then all of a sudden they're going to have all these pukas in their team, or you celebrate your marriage, your wedding, and then like the actual marriage itself is a lot harder, more difficult, or you have a brand new baby, you celebrate that whole thing, and then you're up at 4 a.m. going, "Why have you forsaken me, Lord?" But there's this phrase I'm gonna quote John Mark Comer on, says that disappointment is your body's way of telling you your hope was in the wrong place or it was in the wrong thing. And man, that's rung true so many times in my life where I get disappointed. My hopes and dreams were dashed on something. And there's the temptation to kind of just get resentful, or as Pastor Brandon said, easy to turn our backs on God when we hit disappointment. But maybe my initial hope was in the wrong thing to begin with. And that's what's actually hurting me more. That whatever preferred vision or idea or dream I had is no longer. And I'm lamenting and I'm grieving through that. But it might also be God's grace that I no longer am holding on to that He's helping me or steering me towards this is where your hopes should be. It should be in me. It shouldn't be in all these other things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's revealed in our hearts when these disappointments come, especially after a huge victory.
I am a uh, passive sports fan, extremely passive, I would say. But through familial blood ties, I support the Patriots.
Ooh,
Uh,
boo, boo. Sorry,
Look, I
Patriot
get it.
fans out
No, I get it. I'm right there with you, dude.
there.
And I remember like winning the Super Bowl, not last year? No. Anyway,
Sure.
Pats won the Super Bowl, and then like Brady retired, and then like unretired, and then went to the Bengals, and
No.
then like it was just this like, how could you, you traitor? So
It wasn't the Bengals really, it was the Buccaneers. But we forgive you
what?
for your
Hey, they both start with B. At least I got that, man. extremely passive sports fan. And
Yes.
so when Pastor Brandon was talking about the Broncos winning the Super Bowl, I was like, I wonder what it feels like to be invested for the whole season and to like see that, you know?
Mm,
Because I'm just like, oh, cool, we made it.
this is cool. Awesome.
Yeah, oh, neat. I didn't even know the playoffs were happening.
But I think what
Um,
his point in all of that was the showing of how things get revealed in the wake of victories such as that. I mean, he was harping on the Broncos. I can't believe we're still talking football. It's April. We're 2 months past the Super Bowl, guys. But I think for many in our lives, right, we come up to this high point, and all of a sudden it feels like the rug gets pulled out from under us, or we fall off a precipice that we're just like, oh my gosh, like this was here. But part of me thinks that that was there all this time, whether it be a character issue or something that was sort of hidden under the rug and you just weren't dealing with it or talking about it. And the victory sort of exposed it. And it sort of rears its ugly head when we're sort of elating and we're not paying attention in a sense. It's I almost think of it as like a taste of humble pie in the face of what you could kind of make as a prideful moment for you. And
mm,
I think that's sort of what we're feeling and tasting. And I think that's what the Israelites were definitely facing at AI, as we talked at the beginning of the sermon, when they were uh, riding off their victory at Jericho, and all of a sudden they come up to this little city at AI and they get stomped on.
yeah. I did want to ask because you are our kind of our resident history buff, Bible nerd.
Mm.
Is there anything that you want to expand on that story? Because I know there's a lot of like depth and richness there that Pastor Brennan didn't necessarily have the time to get into.
Uh, I mean, nothing I want to add on is except the fact that they were sort of expecting to crush them. It was supposed to be a pretty easy victory,
Mm,
and the forces at AI were not particularly strong in comparison to Jericho, right? This double-walled city that was just impregnable. Like they were not going to take that without God's help. And there was this maybe even sort of arrogance that we took on Jericho. We can smash this, tiny little city here. And if I'm not mistaken, in the narrative of it, they sort of initially beat them, and then the AI troops retreat back, but then their rear guard or whatnot is left open, and they kind of shoot them, and it's like, oh my gosh, we lost. And uh, you think of many times in your own life where God helps you overcome this huge struggle you're going through. Maybe it was debt, maybe it was some form of hidden sin or whatever is going on. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I got this. And I think that's the point of where we're most vulnerable, when we think we got this and we're not paying attention to what uh, is hidden underneath.
yeah,
And the pride comes before the fall, in a sense.
yeah. I think it's kind of like an exposure that we don't realize how much like pride we have within us. Because I
Mm,
think like all my worst injuries surfing are all on small days,
hmm.
you know, because I'm not paying attention. I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like on like bigger days, I'm like, okay, I gotta focus. Like
Mm,
I need to be like 100% right here. And like, yeah, it's tough. I'll take falls and everything, but like I'm thinking, okay, if this happens, then I know what to do. On the
mm,
small days, like I'm not looking and I go over reef and like
mm,
I just reef rash, you know? I'm
mm,
just like, I could have avoided that if I was paying attention.
mm,
And it's kind of almost in that same way of like in bigger things, we can think, okay, I can't do this on my own. Like I need prayer and I need to trust God and all that. But in the small things, it's like, I got it. And those small things like take away our focus from what God is asking us to do. And that can lead to us having these like uh AI, I, potato moments. So Cam, if we are in those moments where we're like, man, I thought this was gonna happen. I thought Jesus was gonna come in and kick butt and take names, but it's not happening. Not everything's happening how I expected. Um, how do we handle those moments well so that, as Pastor Brandon said, we don't turn our backs on God?
Mm. I think placing our hope and trust in the right place and in the right person is probably key to that. Whenever I find myself disappointed, whenever I find myself kind of at loss as far as God, what are you doing? I don't get it. The situation team seems totally unfair or whatnot. There's a part in me that's is still clinging on to my own vision or image of who Jesus is and who he is supposed to be and what he's supposed to do. Like
Mm.
trying to make it snow in Hawaii, praying that he's gonna make it snow.
Yeah, what
But
kind of dummy would do that?
there's this sort of image that we all have of who Jesus is supposed to be for us. And I think Pastor Brandon kind of ran through a couple of them, like handyman Jesus, like fix my problems. That's all you're here for. I'm gonna call on you and you're gonna work this out. Or the sugar daddy Jesus, the guy who's gonna give you all that you want, everything you pray for, name it and claim it, prosperity stuff. And then the feel good Jesus, just help me through my sadness right now, just fix my emotions kind of thing. But that's not what Jesus came to do. And that's not who he is. Yes, he'll do that. He is our loving Lord in that way. But that's limiting him almost in a sense. So
Yeah, it's like
if I place my hope only,
small
yeah.
parts of who he is.
hmm But if I limit myself only to that, then I'll only experience that much of fully who God is. And when I find myself disappointed and my hopes are sort of dashed, it's almost a corrective realignment to where my hope should truly lie and who Jesus really is. It almost like helps focus in that, lens even more, and it kind of calibrates my heart. As painful as it is, because my sort of tendency is to drift. It wants to go towards the wrong thing, but I think God is too big for us to limit him that way. And over the course of our lifetimes, he's correcting us back to who he is and where our hope should be.
Almost makes me think of like like if you get like a pizza with a bunch of toppings, and then
Okay.
you like, let's say you get like a supreme pizza, so there's pepperoni, mushrooms, olives, sausage, all that stuff,
Mm.
and you only eat the black olives. You just pick the olives off, and you're just like, the pizza was kind of junk. It's like, well, you didn't experience the full thing, you know.
Mm.
And so if you make a small part of it the whole thing, then you miss so much. And in the same way, if you focus on like a tiny part of who God is, who Jesus is in our lives, you miss so much.
I had
Yeah.
a side note. I had a friend who was kind of on a low carb diet once, and we ordered pizza. And
Oh, don't tell me.
he literally got a knife and he scraped off all the toppings, and he just ate that.
That's pretty nasty. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I respect the hustle.
I guess it's keto.
I guess yeah, man. I don't know. I don't understand how keto is different from the Atkins diet back in,
I think it's the
This
same.
is neither here nor there. This is neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about diets.
Experience fully who God is. Don't just cherry pick.
Yeah, and a good way to do that is to be in community, be in connect group, where you can go to your connect groups and you can say, yeah, I think God is doing this, and someone can say, I think you're only eating pepperonis right now. You're not eating the whole pizza. And a great way to do that is to be in connect groups here at Metro. We've got great groups. Head over to our website, metrochristianchurch.com. We've got a connect group finder, or you can email you or Diane.
Either one of us. We'll
take either one. Cameron at Metro Christian Church or Diane at Metro Christian Church. I don't know why I'm pointing this way.
You gonna edit in a little link there? No?
No, I just was pointing at Diane. This is where Diane is in my mind.
It's just she's this way for me. So
Yeah, Diane's over there. Um, man, some good stuff.
yeah.
I am excited for Easter. Hey, as a reminder, we have 3 services for all of you listening. 3 services for Easter, 7, 9, and 11 a.m. We got Good Friday, Friday at 6 p.m. We'll have Metro
Yes.
Kids available at our 6 p.m. Good Friday service and our 9 and 11 Easter services. So head over to our website to sign up for Metro Kids, just so we can get an idea of how many crafts and packages and all that we need to prep. Big help on our side. But yeah, other than that, Cam, I think that's about it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. And I can't leave without, I feel like I would be doing a disservice because Brandon mentioned Sugar Daddy Jesus. If I did not end with the quote, if I wanted a Sugar Daddy Jesus, I could go and get one because I am what? Sickening. Thanks for joining us on the Hana Hou podcast. That's an inside joke for me.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a joke for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I did not expect you to get that at all.
Way over my head, my friend.
Yeah.
You gotta teach me whatever reference that was.
Dude, I try to teach you so many new slangs and stuff, and you just outright refuse to learn them.
I learned them.
No, I mean like we were at Vision Night the other what was that, a month ago or so?
Yeah.
And I said cap, and you were like, what? And I was like, oh, like cap means you're lying, or like that's false. And you were just like, that's so stupid. What? And I was like, look, dog, I don't make the rules.
Well, I appreciate whatever you do teach me. It helps me to relate to the younger generation so that I don't sound like a old fogey that I am inside, but it helps me understand their lingo. So
yeah. So
I
if you
appreciate
ever
Keeps
have
me young.
questions, if Zoomers are talking and you don't understand the words they're using, just send me a text.
Or email willie@metrocritchencourse.com.
I'll do my best. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, we'll
Thanks
see
for
you on
having
Good
me.
Friday. We'll see you on Easter. Head over to our website for more info on all of that. And we'll see you there. Super excited for all that God's going to do. See you next week.
Shoots.
Dock us.